Hey, welcome back. You're with Jason at True Vintage RC, and congratulations because you've made it through to the third and final episode of what's been a interesting and fun look at the 1986 RCL incident. And in the videos prior to this one, I took 3 built cars, I pulled them down, cleaned them up and rebuilt them, taking a good, close and rather careful look at all the inner workings of the gearboxes, the way the suspension worked, and we've also made some comparisons between 2 new in-box kits, so thank you for hanging in there. But in this episode I'm taking some era correct electronics, which include this Le Mans 480T motor by KYOSHO, also KO Propo FET booster box servo, which I mounted in earlier. So the idea was to take this car out onto the racetrack, and no, it's probably not going to be raced in the heat of battle, but it would be good to be able to take it out and enjoy it with all the gear that would have been bolted in this car back when it was around on the track back in the day. So includes, of course, the 32 pitch pinion and spur gear, which was standard for this car back then, and I've mounted the FET booster box servo there with some double-sided tape on top of the steering servo, hoping to keep it out of the way of debris kicking up from the wheels. And keeping with the theme of KO Propo, this is a rather special treat. I picked this up many years ago. This is a new in-box CX1 ESC, the very same unit that Masami Hirosaka ran in his Shoemaker Cat back at the 87 IFMA to take the win. And what an amazing condition this is. It's never been used, absolutely mint condition, and no, it's not going to be used now either. So I've got a used unit here which I've actually installed some new wiring into. So yes, you're seeing some Novak wires and a KO ESC. However, it's not that easy finding 16 gauge silicon wire nowadays, so I've just had to use what I had in stock. I've mounted it up the top of the chassis there because I want to keep it away from any potential debris or damage that could be kicked up by those wheels when I'm out on the track. Just tinning these wires now, making ready for them to be soldered to the motor tabs. And of course, I don't like to use connectors between the ESC and the motor because I think all motors need to be hardwired to the ESC, but that's just me. So before in fact in each stage when I'm installing the electronics and these components, I like to take the body set, which has not been painted yet, and I like to test fit it onto the car because I want to make sure that things aren't rubbing or pushing against the body. So I like to double check and make sure everything's neat and where it should be. Onto the EX5 wheel radio set. So this is a 29 megahertz AM receiver and transmitter. Again, this was the same receiver that was used by Masami back then. And this transmitter is just one of my all-time favorites. It's not that sophisticated, but I just really like the aesthetic of it. Anyway, receiver's in place, and even have an aerial ready to go. So got to keep this thing super old school. So the only thing that I've done that's even potentially going to be breaking my own rules is a nickel metal hydride battery pack, but I've even managed to fit some Dean's 4-pin battery connectors, which of course only go on in one direction, so be very careful the orientation of those pins as they go into the plug. Now I'll pop the wheels up on this box here, and we'll turn the electronics on and we'll give it a bit of a test run. So I always love getting these things going because, let's face it, these particular components haven't really been used in competition or any kind of racing since, well, possibly the late 80s, maybe even in the 90s. So you're talking about 30 plus years old electronics. So it's cool firing these things up and seeing them going. And one thing I did notice, of course, was the car doesn't have a great lot of steering on the front there. Now that is getting full throw. I did double check that, but yeah, maybe that's why the car was 4-wheel steering, because that rack doesn't give a great deal of movement left and right. So that's one interesting thing, but I might have to look at that down the track. Anyhow, so we're getting up to fitting the body set to the car now, and I'm going to start getting ready to paint it, which I'm going to do by masking out with Tamiya masking tape, and the colours are going to go on and the decals are going to go on after that, and get this car out for a bit of a test run. So we've had a lot of rain here. It just never seems to stop raining for this last 6 weeks, and I think that all the tracks are a bit of a washout now. So I'm just going to give the car a bit of a brief run out on my driveway and just give it a bit of a test and see how it goes. But this thing will be driven at the track, so there will be more videos in the future. Anyway, I might leave you with some music and you can watch the car being driven.